wir singen zusammen die Geschichte über den Schweinkopf, den Hund und den lieben Red Bellows.
Okay, now that we got the woodworking of the cabinet done and got the painting done, we're going to focus our attention on the rest of the cabinet. The bottom looks like it's fairly solid condition. I still don't know about the leg levelers. I know it doesn't have any leg levelers on it, but I don't know if the T-nuts are still in it or not. Atari has pretty weak T-nuts. They're just stapled in, just regular T-nuts for the leg levelers, and I'm amazed at how some of them have survived over the years. But unless they're in excellent condition, I may just go ahead and replace them with the big square plates that are held in with 4 bolts and install 4 of them. But we'll look at that once we get the cabinet laying down on its back or its side so we can get to the bottom. Today we're going to try to clean up the inside of the cabinet, and we're going to take the power transformer brick out, and so we can get access to the whole bottom there and clean things out and see if find anything underneath it. I can already see there's some bolts and screws in here. I know I'm missing 5 of the screws that hold the metal rails on, like the bottom marquee bracket and the bracket above the control panel. So they may be in the bottom here somewhere, they may not. Also, the 2 screws that hold the audio regulator board on, they have little spacers on them that hold them off of the board here. I know that the person I got this from, it had all the boards in it, so he took these screws out, and I looked down here and I can see one of them laying down here in the bottom. So hopefully I'll find all those in those spacers. If not, I'm going to have to find those. And I've noticed the fuses have gone out of the brick. All the fuses have been pulled out. I don't know if it was already like that or not. But we have a Bob Roberts rebuild kit for that anyway, with the new fuse blocks, a new big blue, which happens to be black nowadays. And I believe it's even got the kits to repin the Molex plugs. But I've had that for a while, so I'll have to get it out and look it up. So let's go ahead and get pulling this apart. One other thing too I noticed, I don't know if you can see it in the speaker there, the speaker is hosed because I can see daylight through the edge of the cone there, so the foam around the speaker cone is gone, so I'm going to have to get a new speaker for it too. So let's go ahead and see what we can do about getting that power brick out and then cleaning up the inside of the cabinet. Alright, the power brick is held in with 4 Phillips head wood screws that screw right into the wood in the bottom of the cabinet, and they look original. So one's over here because of the wiring harness in the side of the cabinet be a little bit harder to get to, but shouldn't be too bad. We'll go ahead and take those screws out. Okay, in addition to this plug back here and a plug here and another plug right in here, we have these wires here that are the ground wires. I have to take a nut loose because they're on a stud that's on the power brick. So we're going to go get some nut drivers and take that loose. Okay, well, I used my trusty magnet here to fish the stuff out of the bottom of the cabinet. I did find 2 of the screws with the washers that hold the PC boards in, so I'm missing 2 more of the screws with the washers on them. I did find all 4 of the washers to go underneath the PC board that these screws go through, so I only need 2 screws and 2 washers. These, of course, are the 4 screws that hold the power brick in the floor of the cabinet, and that's the nut for the grounds on it. I did find these various carriage bolts and washers and 1 nut in the bottom of the cabinet, but I assume they're probably miscellaneous, that over the years from changing monitors they probably dropped them in the bottom of the cabinet and just left them in there. So didn't find the 5 screws that I need for the marquee brackets, but so I'm gonna have to go to the store and see if I can get some replacements for that. So now I guess we'll get the vacuum out and vacuum the crud out of the cabinet, and we'll go from there. The power brick looks like it's in pretty good shape. Just a little dirty. It ought to clean up pretty good, but doesn't appear to be any whole lot of rust. Just one little bit of rust on the corner bottom edge here. The rest of it looks pretty clean, so that tells me that the cabinet didn't get a whole lot of water in the bottom of the cabinet. It was all the water damage was up on the top of the cabinet, so that's a good thing because all that's fixed. Alright, well, we got the Atari power brick for the Red Baron here on the table, and we're going to try to get some of this 30 plus years of dust off of it. Dust, dirt, grime, whatever. I think the only way I'm going to do it, some people would probably soak it in some degreaser or cleaner and probably put a water hose to it, but I don't know, it's fairly clean under the bottom, and the only bit of rust on it is just this one little corner right here on this back edge. So I'm not going to spray it with water. I'm just going to spray it down with a little bit of simple green, and we'll just try to selectively clean it up here. Now I have a new big blue I'm going to put on. I have new fuse block. So mainly all I have to do is get the top of the chassis here clean and try to clean these wires a little bit, and of course the top of the transformer. So I don't think it'll be too bad. So I'm just going to put a little bit of simple green on here and let it soak a few minutes, and then we'll come back and start wiping it down. Alright, it's been sitting for a few minutes, so I'm going to take this wire brush here. Could take a nylon brush, like even a toothbrush I guess would work. This is what I had handy, so I'll give it a try. And we'll just sort of swish it around here on this top, and I would imagine this stuff will come off fairly easy because it's basically just dust and dirt and grime that's just landed on it from floating in the air all these years. So I would think it would come off fairly easy. It's not like it's a piece of machinery and is always in oil and you know, that kind of situation where you got a lot of oil and water and dust and grime and everything. Pretty much just dry dirt and dust. So it ought to come off fairly easy. Okay, well, that looks good enough for me. So next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and change out the big blue. Got a new rectifier for it. and I have a new fuse block, but if this fuse block seems good, I may not change it. It looks like it's in perfectly good shape, so we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, well, I decided that I'm going to leave the fuse block in there. The fuse block looks good. I don't see any need of changing it. If I was to change it, the one that came in the Bob Roberts kit, it has different size spade terminals. So they're a little bit smaller than their original spade terminals. It's the larger terminal. So I would have to, I mean, it probably would fit on there, but no, it won't even fit. It's too loose. I would have to cut these off and put new smaller terminals on there, and I don't want to do that. So these are good and tight. These were good and tight and clean, so I went ahead and left it. I've already put the fuses in here. These 3 are 4 amp slow blow. This is a 20 amp slow blow, and the one in the holder here is a 7 amp slow blow fuse. So taking care of the fuses. Now we're going to change the big blue, and the replacements have big blue written on them, but they're black. So what we need to do is first I'm going to go ahead and take the wires loose on the bottom side. Now on the bottom side here you have 2 terminals, and it's marked on the capacitor. One's positive, one's negative. So pretty sure the red wires are going to be positive and the purple wires are going to be the negative. And I don't know if you can see this on camera, but right here is the vent hole for the capacitor. The new one right there is the vent hole. And you can see corrosion around this vent hole, so that means this capacitor was leaking just a little bit. So it's a good thing we're going to go ahead and change it. It's a Phillips screwdriver. So we're taking these loose first because they're kind of tight, and you don't want to loosen the capacitor up in the holder and have to be fighting holding the capacitor while you take these loose. So that's why we're going to go ahead and take these off first. And when you're taking wires apart, it always helps to take a picture of it before you start, because you may think you're going to be able to remember how it goes, and maybe you can. But once these wires get all out of place, then you start thinking and start second guessing yourself. And it's always nice to have a picture so you can go back for reference and make sure you get it right. Okay, now we got all those loose. So now I'll turn it over here, and the big blue has a metal bracket that goes around it. It's got 3 Phillips screws that holds it to the chassis, and it's got one right here that clamps around the capacitor. And with this one here, you can, you know, loosen it up and get it out, but you still have to loosen these up because it's split, and it's got some leeway here to allow for the adjustment. So all you have to do is just loosen these 3 up right here, and we have to take them off. And this might be a little corroded. Definitely a little corroded there. I don't think I have a deep socket in here to fit it. So let me get something to hold that nut with, and I'll be right back. Okay. I got something that'll take it loose. Okay, just need to take it loose enough to get this to slide out. Alright, and here's the old one. And we slid it out and the positive was down. So we're going to put the new one back just like that. Here's the positive, negative is here. So we're going to put it right back in just like we took that one out. And loosen this up just a little bit more. Big one must be just a hair fatter. Back in about the same level it was before, and you can pretty much tell that just by where the wires are sitting. So that looks good. So we'll tighten up the band. You don't want to tighten it too tight, but you want it snug. You don't want it to be able to twist. Now we can go ahead and tighten 3 screws that holds it to the chassis. Okay. Alright, now go ahead and put these back in. Just make sure we get all of them in the correct position. It really doesn't matter exactly how they go, just as long as you get them all on there. I like to try to spread them around so that they're not on top of each other, so they'll sit flat on the eye and make good contact. And the same thing with the negative side. Good and tight, and that's the installation of the big blue, or shall we say big black. Okay, the only thing left now is our rectifier, and I'm hoping that's going to have the same size lugs on it. If not, that'll be a bummer. Alright, let's see what that's got on it. Alright, that's got a Phillips head on the top side. So let's set this up here so I can get a screwdriver on it. Okay, now we have that loose. Now this is a rectifier, and it has a metal here that goes to the metal chassis, which is like a heat sink. And I don't know, I've taken a couple of these off, and they never seem to have any heat sink grease on them, or heat sink compound, like you would put on a power transistor. I'm just going to put some on this because I think it makes a better heat transfer. And maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but that's what I like to do. Well, first, what we have to do is make sure we get these pins correct. They're marked. A little squiggly line means that's AC. This one is negative. This one is positive. This another little squiggly line means that's AC. So this one should be marked also. Now this one has a cut corner on it, which allows you to line it up, but this one here doesn't. It don't have a cut corner, so I'm going to have to get the markings on it. The markings on this one are on the corner. This is an AC marking. This is the negative marking. And this is positive marking, which that's right because that wire goes to our positive side on there, and this wire goes to the negative side on here. So this is our negative and this is our positive. So that means it goes this way. So the cut corner will go to the corner of the chassis. So now all we have to do is take these wires off one at a time. And they're on pretty good, and that's a good thing. Alright. Put the positive on. Good tight fit. It's tight. Okay. Alright, that was done. Why that one is underneath that, so I think I'm going to change that. Somebody must have changed that one time because it doesn't have a cover on it. I just don't want to pull this thing off and cut myself on some of this metal. Very easy to do. Okay. This one should go right there. And lastly, this one goes right here. That hitting that one right there. Once I remount it, I'll bend the terminals so that they don't touch. Alright. Put a little bit of heatsink compound on here. much, just enough to cover the surface. Stand it up. I have to put the screwdriver on here and spin it. Get this started. There we go. All right, now that's tight. Go ahead and lay that one over a little bit so it'll clear. It won't rub on that one and cause a problem. Okay. I think that'll do it. The Red Baron power block is done. It's all ready to install back in the bottom of the cabinet. Okay, well, we're going to attempt to clean this stuff out of the cabinet here. Mostly it just looks like dust. 30 years of dirt and dust has fell in here. A few leaves maybe from where the back door's been off for so long, because it didn't have a back door when I got it, so there's no telling how long it's been without the back door and the roof of the cabinet, and how long it's actually been sitting outdoors. So anyway, let's go ahead. I got my shop back here, and I got the upholstery attachment here, and we're going to start with that. And once we get all the big stuff out, then we're going to go to our brush here, see if we can't get a little bit more with that. Then we'll probably get down here and get some simple green and maybe try to get these sides a little cleaner and whatever. So here it goes. Okay, well, you sort of get the idea, so we're going to go ahead and finish this up off camera. No need in making you painfully watch me vacuum the cabinet out here, so we'll go ahead and do this and come back. Okay, I've finished the vacuum, and I tell you, I'm amazed at how clean it came. Like I say, it was mostly just dust in here, so I think it looks pretty good. So I may take a little simple green on some paper towels and wipe off the black a little bit, but they even came pretty clean too. So for the most part, this is done. I can bring the power brick back out here and put the power brick back in. So I think that's going to do it on this end. So now I get the power brick back in. I have the audio regulator board all rebuilt. I rebuilt that probably a year ago. Like I say, I've been collecting parts for a couple years now to put one of these together, and the cabinet was basically the last thing that I needed and to complete the project. But I still have some work to do. I still haven't even looked at the monitor. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, somebody on the Vector list local to me was giving away some monitors, and one of them was a V2000 Wells Garner, and I believe, pretty sure it's complete, but I have to dig it out and look at it. They also gave me a 6100, but it was just a frame and a tube, no boards with it. But I went ahead and took it because I'm a Vector fan, and you never know when you're going to come across something that you're going to use it in, and definitely can use that V2000 in this. So if I remember right, it has some Asteroids Deluxe burn in it, but I'm hoping with the monitor gel over top the picture it's not going to be too bad, and if it is, I believe there's still a few tubes available. I could go on and get a new tube for it, so we'll see how that works out. Now let's go ahead and wipe the inside of the cabinet down and bring our power brick out here and put that in. Alright, well, we got the inside of the cabinet all cleaned out, and we got our power brick all reconditioned, so we're ready to put it back in the cabinet. Alright, I noticed when I took the power brick out that the AC power goes in through this plug right here on the side, and with it screwed into the bottom of the cabinet, the cord is twisted on an angle and up tight against the cabinet, so there may not be enough room to plug and unplug that connector. So I'm going to go ahead and plug the power cord back in first. It may be enough room there, but it is very close to the edge of the cabinet, so we'll just go ahead and connect that first and don't have to worry about it. Alright, now we just need to get this in here without pinching any of the other wires. And of course the power cord has this plate right here that slides in right here. It's a nice design. I like that design because when you're moving a game from location to location, you don't have to worry about tripping over the power cord. You take the back off, pull this plug out, roll the cord up, stick it in the bottom of the cabinet. So for now though, we're just going to leave it loose, and we're going to have to line up the original holes in the bottom of the cabinet here. And I can see one of the holes right there, so it definitely goes in tight. I don't know why it had to be that tight, but that's where they put it, so that's where we're going to put it back. Alright, screws started here. These are the easy ones here. I say they're easy. Run them down, not tighten them up yet. Looks like it should be lined up with the other side too, since I got these two started, but I'll leave them loose in case I need a little wiggle room. Alright. And I did need a little wiggle room. That one might not be too bad. That one in the corner. Well, we'll see. We'll need a magnetic screwdriver. Alright, got that one started. Now for the one in the back corner. That one's going to be a little more difficult. See if I can get a magnetic screwdriver. I couldn't find a magnetic screwdriver, but here's a tip for you. I took my regular screwdriver, and the old speaker is right here, so I just laid the screwdriver on the back of the magnet and rubbed it back and forth a few times, and now my screwdriver is magnetized. So that's just a little tip. You don't have one that's already magnetized, you can magnetize the one you have. And we got it started. So now we can go ahead and tighten these down since we have it in place. These power bricks, I don't know what they weigh, but because of that transformer, they are heavy. Adds quite a bit of weight to the cabinet. I'd say it's, besides the monitor, it's probably the heaviest part of the weight besides the cabinet itself. These cabinets had a tendency to tip over because of the, I guess they're, I don't know, kind of narrow. That's why they added the step onto them. If somebody, a little kid or something, was to grab onto the joystick and pull it, the cabinet would flip over. If they had to move this power brick back against the back wall here, they might not have had that problem. Well, it certainly would have helped it. But instead, they come up with the step. Plus also the cabinet is so dang tall, there's no way a little kid could play the game. So I guess they figured they'd put that little step on there and the kid could step up on the step. But anyway, okay, we got that in. Another thing I'm going to check too, because I don't know who put this end on the cord. It's obviously a replacement plug. I don't know if they wired it up correctly, so I'm going to pull this apart. I always like to pull them apart and check them, because you never know, somebody might have put this plug on that had no idea what they were doing, and they might have got the wires crossed. So I'm going to check that out too. Another little tip. And if you ever have to replace one for yourself, be sure you get the wires in the right place. You got the green is the ground, then you got the black and the white. I believe the white's the neutral and the black is the hot. And on your cord, well, I'll show you when I take it apart later, but usually your two wires, your black and your white, when you hook it up to a cord or a receptacle, one of the screw terminals is going to be silver in color and the other one will be brass in color. The silver in color gets the white wire and the brass one gets the black wire. So just something you need to be conscious of. Okay, now we got the power plug plugged in, so now let's plug J2 in, which goes right here, and then we have the other one here which doesn't have a label on it, but it's got this one plug here and that's got to be the plug for it. And of course it's keyed, so you can only put it in one direction. It's got these little ridges on one side. But that's not it. It's this way. Okay, then we've got one here, which I believe that's for the marquee, and that's all the wires for the power brick. These wires here go to the audio regulator board, which screws onto this panel here. But I'm not going to put that in. I have that and it's ready to go, but I'm not going to put it in yet. I'm going to wait until I'm ready to work on the monitor before I put that in. So, let's see what we can do next. There's one more thing I almost forgot. The ground wires hook up to the block. And when I took these loose, one of the wires, the lug, broke off of it. So, I've looked at the others and the others appear to be fine. I don't know why that one decided to break. But it did, so we're going to have to put a new one on it. And it's two wires crimped into one. So first we're going to have to cut the old crimp off and strip these two wires. Now we'll just twist them together. Making sure we get the ends to line up. We'll take our new connector. And clamp it. And that should do it. Now we just have to put them on the stud on the power brick and tighten the nut down. And then we'll be finished. Okay, well I was getting ready to pull this speaker out to replace it because the speaker is, the foam around the cone is gone. And it looks like this isn't the original speaker anyway because, well it could be, maybe that's the bolt holes there for the speaker grill. I guess that's a possibility. That could still be the original speaker. But anyway, while I was moving these cables out of the way, it felt like I pulled something loose, and I got two wires here with to go on a spade plug somewhere, and don't see anything for them to hook into. Now, under the volume control, there is a place for a test switch, and I'm thinking that maybe somebody took the switch out. But then on the coin door here, there's a toggle switch up here with test underneath it. So I'm not sure if that's the actual test switch on the coin door, if somebody moved it, or if that's factory, or what these two extra wires are. One's white and one's black. So I guess I'm going to have to look at the schematics and try to figure that out. So right now I'm going to go ahead and pull these 4 screws out, take the speaker out, and I have a supposed to be a 4 ohm speaker. I have a 8 ohm speaker which supposedly will work, so I'm going to stick that in here for now until I can get a 4 ohm speaker. I'll order one from Bob Roberts, I guess. So let's do that. Yeah, well, I definitely say that speaker is roached out. Definitely could probably put a foam rebuild kit in it, but they're cheap enough. I'm not going to worry about it. Who knows? Maybe we'll save the magnet to magnetize screwdrivers. It works good for that. Okay, well, here's the old speaker I just took out of the Red Baron, and here's the new Bob Roberts speaker that I had ordered earlier for another project and didn't use it. The only difference is this is 8 ohm and this is a 4 ohm, but I've been told from a good source that this will work, but I'll later swap it out for a 4 ohm anyway. But the big part is the holes line up. The hole pattern is identical. It's the exact same size speaker. The terminals are a little bit positioned, a little bit different, but actually these will work out better than the original. Yeah, we'll go ahead and install it. Okay, one little snag here. I could have swore that those terminals on that new speaker were the exact same size, but turns out they're just a tad wider, so the original spade connectors won't fit on it. So rather than cut these off and put new ones on the wire, I don't want to mess up their harness. Okay, I found a temporary solution to my speaker connection problem here. I didn't want to cut the original harness, the plugs off of them, so I had some spade terminals that fit the original connectors. So I just made me an adapter for each side with a small piece of wire here with the correct spade plug to plug directly onto the speaker. So that should suffice until I decide to do something different with it. But if that speaker works out, I may just wind up leaving it in. If I do, I'll come back and I'll put some piece of heat shrink tubing over this connector here so it doesn't short out on anything, but the wire is so stiff it'll stay in place for now. Well, now we're going to install a new marquee light. I had to go to the store to get one because I didn't have one to fit these 1.5-inch brackets here. The tube just clips right in these spring-loaded metal clips here, and it uses a F15 T12. The F15 stands for 15 watt, and the T12 stands for the diameter of the tube, which is 1.5 inches, and it's an 18-inch long tube. So found this at Lowe's, like $6-7. I've already put in a new starter. It had one of the metal type starters, the older type, which may be good, but usually when I install new lights, I'll go ahead and put new starters in, so I won't have to worry about it for a while. And I also put the new screws in here to hold the marquee light assembly in. If you remember, I had to put new blocking in on this side here for it. And I fished all the wires back up through the cabinet. It looks like, because this was a converted battle zone, a factory conversion, it has the extra power plug here, which really goes on the back side of this for the black light. And also it has another plug here with brown and white wires. I'm pretty sure that's a speaker wire, because if I remember right, Battlezone had speakers up in the front piece here on the sides of the monitor. So I'm pretty sure that's extra speaker hookup, which is not used in Red Baron. So we'll go ahead and put this in. It just has these push-on terminals that go on the round terminals on the end of the bulb on both sides. So we'll go ahead and stick that in. Okay, well, we now have the marquee light in. New starter back there, and the wires are on the tube, so it ought to be ready to light up. The other day when I was putting a power brick in, we wanted to check this plug to make sure it was installed properly. So we're going to take this apart now and double check it and make sure it was wired up correctly. Alright, let's go ahead and take this apart. No telling how long this has been on. Looks like a fairly new replacement, but it's hard to tell about these. It does appear a little nicer looking than some I've seen recently, so it could be an older. They tend to make things cheaper nowadays. Okay. Never seen one like this before, so got to come out a little more here. Okay. Wow. Okay, now this is what I was talking about. It appears that they wired it up correctly. As you can see right here, the head of this screw here is brass in color, and the black wire is hooked up to it. The one over here is silver in color, and the white wire is hooked to it. So that's correct. And of course, your green always hooks to your ground wire, which is the third prong on here. So somebody knew what they were doing when they wired this one up. And I actually like this plug. That's a nice design. I wish I could maybe look around and see if I can find some more of those. Okay. We'll just put it back together. The design gives it a good stress relief on this cable. A lot of times the stress relief here, where it tightens down on the cable, isn't very good, and you wind up, the cable pulls loose, gets twisted, and then the wires eventually will break, which is something you don't want to fool around with electrical connections. Okay, well, since we know this is good now, we can hook it up to power and see if our marquee light works. Okay, let's see if we have power and see if our marquee light works. First thing we need to do is we have the back door off, so we're going to have to turn our switch on by pulling it out. If the door was on, it would be pushing it in. But when you got the door off, the interlock switch has to be pulled out. Also, the interlock switch on the coin door is pushed in because the coin door is closed. Alright, well, let's see if it works here. Voila! We have success! Our first sign of life, the red bearing. We now have a marquee light. So, that's good. That's a start anyway. Now we can go ahead and throw in the audio regulator board, and we'll be able to check and see if we have correct power coming off of it. But I'm not quite ready for that yet. Next, I think we'll probably start on rebuilding the joystick, and we still have to dig the monitor out. So, but it's coming along. Alright, well, we decided to just stick the marquee plexi on there to see what it looked like. And we do have some scratches on the back side, but it could be worse. We can probably touch them up on the back a little bit so that they won't show up as bad. But it's good enough. Can't complain. Well, that does it for part 4. We covered the cleaning inside the cabinet, refurbishing the power brick, reinstalling it, and getting the marquee light working. So next video, video number 5, we're going to be dealing with this, the putting the joystick back together. So be sure to stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be back shortly with a working joystick.
Achtung, jetzt wir singen zusammen die Geschichte über den Schweinkopf.